right, so when we think about crafting and quilting and doing all the things, I really just envy you, number one, because how did you learn how to do this in the first place?
I tell you what, I learned how to do that because I was brought up in Pocahontas, Mississippi, and I was a little girl, and you know, we didn't have all that stuff to play with. So my mom had this, we called a little pole quilting frames in the top of the house, and all of us had a little spot. And we had our little spot where we quilted, and so that's what we did. And so during pandemic, and this is interesting, I was really sitting home. It was on a fourth Sunday in July, and I was sitting in my quiet place, and I promise you, because I believe in the power, and it's like a voice said, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, nobody in this house but me. And so I got up, because I crochet also.
Okay.
So I got up and I went to my closet where I kept my crochet yarn and my needle. And I got my crochet yarn and needle. I came back and I sat in the same place and I started crocheting an Afghan. And I kept doing that. And I kept doing that. And really, I had done like 6 Afghans and I stopped doing that. So I could do something else. And the quilting came back. And I started making quilts. And I would make one quilt, and I would make another quilt, and I just kept making quilts. And so this was what I did. By the time COVID was ended, I had done over 30 quilts.
Wow.
Yes, because I love it. It's a wonderful art, and it's creative because they would say, well, how did you decide what to do? Well, I look at a pattern, and then I say, oh, I can do that. And then I read, because you had to read the directions and how to cut the pieces and how large you want it to be. And I can improvise, because if it says I want a 3-inch square, I know what to do. If I want a 4-inch square, I know what to do. If I want it larger, I know what to do. So I started with the simple 9-patch quilt. And that's the simplest one you can do. So it's just a 9-patch quilt. So if you want to say you want a 4-inch square, you cut it at least 4.5 inches before you know, and then when you actually make it, it becomes 4, because you got to allow for seam allowances. So I learned all of this stuff, and so I decided to just keep quilting, and I'm teaching others to quilt because I realized that your talent is no good unless you really give it away, and I always say that because one of these days I'm not going to be here, and someone will be doing my quilts.
Okay, well, let's talk about your quilts really quickly. Okay, because I knew you was churchy before you came, but you really represented your church.
Yeah.
And so how long did it take you?
That's a friendship quilt.
It's
a memory quilt. Yeah, it's a memory quilt because it's like a T-shirt quilt.
And so
what people need to understand is that if you have some T-shirts, you can take your T-shirts, and that's the reason why you call it a memory quilt, because you can take your T-shirts and you can make a little quilt out of it, and this is like a throw. And so it's a memory quilt.
That's so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Wrap yourself up in it. There you go.
I feel warm.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like you prayed in this one.
Okay.
There's some power in this one.
Yeah, this quilt here is what you call the shoe fly quilt. Well, I use the Underground Railroad book, and these quilts have every one of them have a message, because they were traveling, and these was messages that they used when they were doing the quilt. The quilt had a message, so I just go and select whichever ones I want. So this one is the one that really I'm teaching my ladies at my church right now, and we're going to display these during Black History Month at the church, because they're making their own quilt, and we will display these, and then I'm going to give them the story behind them, but they're going to tell it.
I love that.
Yeah.
So Cade Chapel, it was over here.
Yeah, Cade Chapel, turn it around, Cade Chapel Baptist Church somewhere.
It's a whole bunch of memories.
It's a whole lot of memory on there, but it is Cade Chapel Baptist Church is where I've been a member there for 49 years. Yes, I have. And I believe that if you teach one, then they can teach one, and your teaching will continue.
Now, okay, you said that. I got to let you stop, because you know I have to bring you back so you can teach me how to do it.